There exists a method known to very few by which you can peer directly into the hidden architecture of another person's soul, not through manipulation, not through trickery, but through three deceptively simple questions that bypass the conscious mind entirely and speak directly to the unconscious. Decades of observing the human psyche have revealed with absolute certainty that most people are strangers to themselves. They believe they know what drives them, what they fear, what they truly desire. But they are mistaken. The conscious mind is a storyteller, a master of justification and rationalization. It creates elaborate narratives to explain behaviors that originate in depths it cannot see. But what if, with three carefully constructed questions, you could cut through these layers of self-deception? What if you could see not just what a person tells themselves, but what their soul has been trying to tell them for years? Listen closely, because what is about to be revealed is not a party trick. This is a key to the locked chambers of the human heart, and once you learn to use it, you will never look at conversation the same way again. Before receiving these three questions, you must understand something fundamental about human consciousness. The persona that people present to the world, the stories they tell about themselves, these are not lies exactly. They are more like carefully curated exhibitions in a museum where most of the collection remains hidden in the basement. When you ask someone a typical question, "What do you want?" or "Who are you?" or "What makes you happy?" they will give you the rehearsed answer, the one they have told themselves 1,000 times, the one that fits neatly into the narrative they have constructed about their life. But the truth, the real psychological truth, does not live in these rehearsed responses. It lives, as in the shadows, it lives in what has been termed the personal unconscious, that vast repository of forgotten memories, suppressed desires, and rejected parts of the self. Most people spend their entire lives in conversation with others without ever touching this deeper layer. They exchange pleasantries, discuss surface preferences, share opinions about external matters, but they never truly see each other. They never truly connect at the level where authentic understanding exists. Here is what has been discovered through analytical work. The unconscious reveals itself not through direct questioning, but through indirect inquiry. When you ask someone about their conscious preferences, they will tell you what they think they should want. But when you ask them questions that require them to access memory, emotion, and pattern recognition simultaneously, something remarkable happens. The conscious filter weakens. The unconscious begins to speak. And that is precisely what these three questions are designed to do. The first question is this: what is the earliest memory you have of feeling deeply misunderstood? Now, you may think this is a simple question about childhood. It is not. This question is a surgical instrument designed to expose what can be called the original psychological wound, the moment when the developing psyche first experienced the painful realization that the inner world and outer world do not match. Watch what happens when you ask this question. Most people will pause. Their eyes will shift as they search through the archives of memory. And in that pause, something extraordinary occurs. They are no longer performing their rehearsed identity. They are actually feeling into the truth of their experience. What they describe will tell you everything you need to know about the core pattern that has shaped their entire relational life. Consider this example. This question was once asked to a successful businessman who projected absolute confidence and control in every interaction. He paused for nearly 30 seconds, and then he said, "I was 7 years old. I came home from school excited about a story I had written. My father was reading the newspaper. I showed it to him, and he glanced at it for maybe 3 seconds and said, 'That's nice,' and went back to his paper. I remember standing there holding this story that felt so important and realizing he didn't actually see me at all." Do you understand what was revealed in that moment? This man's entire adult persona, the relentless achievement, the need to prove his worth through external success, the inability to rest or feel satisfied, All of it traced back to that 7-year-old boy standing in the living room, invisible to the person whose recognition he craved most. But here is what most people miss. The power of this question is not just in the memory itself, but in the pattern it reveals. Because that original wound does not simply exist in the past, where it becomes a template, an unconscious filter through which every subsequent relationship is experienced. His man, without knowing it, spent his entire adult life trying to get people to truly see his work, to validate its importance, to give him the attention his father withheld. He chose partners who were emotionally unavailable. He worked for bosses who rarely gave praise. He unconsciously recreated the original wound again and again, hoping that this time the outcome would be different. When you ask someone about their earliest memory of being misunderstood, you are not asking about their past. You are asking them to reveal the unconscious pattern that is still running their present. Listen carefully to their answer. Notice what emotion appears in their body as they speak. Notice whether they rush through it or linger in it. Notice if they minimize it. Oh, it was nothing really. Or if they allow themselves to feel the weight of it. The person who rushes through it is still defending against the wound. They have built their identity around not being that vulnerable child anymore. The person who lingers in it may have become identified with the wound itself, wearing their pain as a badge of suffering, but the person who can tell you the story with clarity and feeling, without drowning in it or dismissing it, this is someone who has begun the process of what can be called individuation. They have integrated the wounded child. They have made peace with the pattern without being enslaved by it. And here is what may surprise you most. When someone answers this question honestly, they often have a moment of recognition. They may say something like, "I have never thought about it that way before," or "That is still happening to me, isn't it?" In that moment, you have not just read their mind, you have helped them read their own. The second question is this: what quality do you most despise in other people? Now, be warned. This question will make people uncomfortable. They may deflect. They may give you a safe, socially acceptable answer like, "I do not like dishonesty," or "I cannot stand laziness." But if you want to truly see into the depths of their psyche, you must go further. Here is what you say next. Tell me about a specific person who embodies this quality, someone who really gets under your skin. And then you wait. Because what they are about to reveal is not actually information about other people. It is information about their own shadow, the parts of themselves they have rejected, denied, and projected outward onto the world. This is one of the most profound discoveries of analytical psychology. The qualities we most intensely despise in others are almost always the qualities we have most forcefully repressed in ourselves. We hate them out there because we cannot tolerate them in here. Consider this striking example. There was a woman who described herself as generous, selfless, always putting others first. When asked what quality she most despised, she immediately said selfishness. "I cannot stand selfish people." She was asked to describe someone who embodied this. She told about a colleague who, according to her, only thinks about herself, never considers how her actions affect others, takes credit for collaborative work. And then came a follow-up question, one that cut to the heart of the matter. Have you ever wanted to be more like her? The silence that followed was electric. And then tears, because in that moment she recognized what she had been denying for years. She desperately wanted permission to prioritize her own needs. She was exhausted from decades of self-sacrifice. She resented everyone she helped because helping them meant abandoning herself. But she could not admit this. It violated her identity as the good, selfless person. So instead of owning her own need for healthy self-interest, she projected it onto others and judged them for having what she denied herself. This is the mechanism of shadow projection. We cast out the parts of ourselves we deem unacceptable, and then we encounter them in the faces of others, where we can judge them with righteous fury. When someone tells you what they despise in others, they are handing you a map to their own inner exile. They are showing you what parts of their soul they have locked away in the basement. The ambitious person who despises ladder climbers has rejected their own ambition. The free-spirited person who despises irresponsible flakes has rejected their own need for spontaneity. The intellectual who despises show-offs has rejected their own desire for recognition. But here is the paradox, and this is crucial to understand. The shadow is not just dark. It contains vital life energy. When we repress a quality, we do not eliminate it. We simply make it unconscious, where it continues to influence us in ways we cannot see. The woman who despised selfishness was not actually generous. She was compulsively self-sacrificing, which is different. True generosity comes from abundance and choice. Her giving came from fear and repression. And because she could not set healthy boundaries, she eventually became resentful and bitter, the very opposite of the generous person she believed herself to be. When you ask someone what they despise in others, listen for the intensity of their reaction. The stronger the emotional charge, the larger the shadow projection. A mild dislike is just a preference, but visceral disgust, moral outrage, obsessive focus, these are signs that you have touched the wound. And here is the gift you can offer if the person is ready to receive it. You can gently ask, is it possible that you have this quality too, perhaps in a different form? Not to shame them, not to prove them wrong, but to invite them into wholeness, because the goal is not to become the thing you despise, it is to integrate the energy that has been trapped in that rejection. The woman did not need to become selfish. She needed to reclaim her right to have needs, to set boundaries, to honor herself. When she did this, her resentment dissolved, her giving became genuine, and interestingly, she stopped being so triggered by her colleagues' behavior. This is the process of shadow integration. And when you can see someone's shadow projection clearly, you see the key to their liberation. The third question is the most powerful of all. It is this: if you were on your deathbed tomorrow, what would you most regret not having done or become? This question does not ask about the past. It does not ask about others. It asks about the unlived life that haunts the unconscious like a ghost. Years of studying what can be called the individuation process, the journey toward becoming fully oneself, have revealed that most people are not living their lives. They are living an adaptation, a compromise, a version of themselves that fits into the expectations of family, society, profession. And somewhere deep in the psyche, there is a knowing, a persistent whisper that says, this is not who you truly are. When you ask someone about their deathbed regrets, you're asking them to name this unlived life. You're asking them to acknowledge what their soul has been trying to tell them all along. The answers people give to this question are breathtaking in their honesty, because when you frame it in terms of death, the social masks fall away, the defenses crumble, people tell the truth. A lawyer will say, I would regret never having painted. A mother will say, I would regret never having traveled alone. A CEO will say, I would regret never having written the novel I have been thinking about for 20 years. But listen carefully, because this is important. The regret is not actually about the activity itself. It is about the quality of being that the activity represents. The lawyer who wants to paint is not really longing for paint and canvas. He is longing for creative expression, for the freedom to make something without it needing to be productive or billable. The mother who wants to travel alone is not really longing for foreign countries. She is longing for autonomy, for the experience of herself as a separate individual rather than in relation to her children. The CEO who wants to write a novel is not really longing to be an author. He is longing for depth, for meaning, for work that touches the soul rather than just the bottom line. When someone tells you their deathbed regret, they are revealing the call of the self, that deeper organizing principle of the psyche that knows who you are meant to become. And here is the tragedy. Most people will never answer this call. They will hear it, acknowledge it, maybe even feel moved by it in moments of quiet reflection. But then they will return to their adapted life. They will tell themselves there is not enough time, not enough money, too many responsibilities, too much risk. And what happens to the unlived life? It does not simply disappear, it becomes bitterness, depression, a persistent sense of something missing, a vague but constant dissatisfaction that no amount of external success can remedy. This has been seen countless times in analytical work. The person who has everything they thought they wanted, the successful career, the beautiful family, the financial security, and yet they sit with tears streaming down their face saying, "I don't understand, I should be happy. Why am I not happy?" And the answer is always the same. Because you are living someone else's life, because you have betrayed the call of your own soul, because the unlived life is demanding to be lived. But here is the redemptive possibility. And this is why this question is so powerful. When someone names their deathbed regret out loud to another person, something shifts. The unlived life moves from the realm of fantasy into the realm of possibility. People have been watched answering this question and then, weeks or months later, making profound changes. They do not always quit their job to become a painter or travel the world, but they begin to make space for the quality of being they have been denying. They set boundaries, they pursue small expressions of the unlived life, they stop waiting for permission. And this is what you can offer when you ask this question. Not judgment, not advice, not reassurance that it is too late or too hard, simply witnessing, simply holding space for the truth of their longing, because when someone feels truly seen in their deepest yearning, when they are not met with dismissal or practicality or well-meaning discouragement, something in them begins to come alive. Now, you may be wondering why these three questions work with such profound accuracy. The underlying architecture is this. The first question reveals the original wound, the moment when the authentic self first learned it must hide. The second question reveals what was hidden, the qualities exiled into shadow. The third question reveals what is calling to emerge, the unlived potential waiting to be actualized. Together, these three questions map the journey of individuation from wound to shadow to wholeness, from adaptation to integration to authentic expression. And here is what makes this process so powerful. When you ask these questions, you are not imposing an interpretation onto someone. You are inviting them to see themselves more clearly. You are creating a mirror in which they can glimpse the deeper patterns of their own psyche. But there must be a warning, and this is crucial. Do not use these questions as a weapon. Do not use them to feel superior or to expose someone's vulnerabilities for your own gain. The unconscious is sacred ground. When someone opens that door for you, you have a responsibility to honor what is revealed. These questions should only be asked in the context of genuine care and authentic curiosity. If your intention is manipulation, the unconscious will sense it and the door will remain closed. But if your intention is understanding, if you genuinely wish to see the person before you, these questions will open pathways of connection deeper than most people ever experience. And here's the beautiful paradox. When you learn to read someone's mind in this way, when you learn to see past their persona into the deeper truth they carry, you simultaneously become more visible yourself, because true seeing is always mutual. You cannot look into someone's depths without revealing your own. This is the essence of what can be called the transcendent function, the capacity to hold both conscious and unconscious, both self and other, in a larger awareness that transforms both. So let this be clear: the next time you truly wish to understand someone, do not ask them surface questions. Do not accept the rehearsed answers. Ask them about their earliest wound. Ask them what they despise. Ask them what they would regret on their deathbed. And then, and this is the most important part, listen. Not with your mind racing to respond, not with your judgments forming, but with your full presence. Because in that space of authentic inquiry and genuine listening, something extraordinary happens. The unconscious recognizes itself. The hidden becomes visible. The isolated soul discovers it is not alone. This is not mind reading in some magical sense. It is something far more profound. It is soul recognition. It is the meeting of two human beings at the level where truth lives. And once you learn to facilitate this kind of meeting, you will understand what has been known for decades: that beneath all the differences, all the defenses, all the carefully constructed personas, we are remarkably similar. We all carry wounds, we all harbor shadows, we all have unlived lives whispering to us in the dark. The questions given here are keys. Use them wisely, use them with reverence, use them to build bridges rather than walls, because the world does not need more people who can manipulate others. It needs more people who can truly see, and in that seeing, offer the gift of being seen in return